And but was is it's amazing because we talk about early music, about articulation, about what is authentic, what is philological. But when we listen to him, he is authentic, he is philological, he is absolutely in style. Sure, the instruments are different because he does not use the viola da gamba for the sixth one, but it's not relevant, I think. This is the importance of Casals in his time.
The music that Casals played was very much the music that became today to be known as the classical music for cello. As you say, he was the first one in, I think, over 250 years to play all the Bach cello sonatas alone, without, Mendelssohn in the 19th century decided to add the whole orchestra to the violin and to the cello because he was afraid that
there is a very beautiful version of the Bach suite for violoncello by Schumann, with the Schumann accompaniment is wonderful. It's magnificent. That is sure is an accompaniment, but yes, Casals was the first one. Yes. In the same year, what is really interesting because we forget sometimes many important musicians that are not remembered because they are not in the main discography. But one of them, in the same years of Pablo Casals, have you never listened to the name of August Wenzinger?
Certo.
August Wenzinger not only was a good cello and gamba, was a pioneer of the gamba after Dolmetsch, was the teacher, actually he was the teacher of Jordi and of Wieland. And,
oh, really? I didn't know that.
Sure. Wieland was the teacher of Wieland Keuken and of Jordi in Wien. And he was the teacher in Basel before Jordi Savall and René Rorenberg. And he was the first one editing the Urtext edition of the Bach suite. That is actually still now in the music shop you can find. Is the Urtext edition is August Wenzinger, and was the years in the same years as Pablo Casals, I think, more or less. And in two different tastes, a different technique, because Casals was really playing a new edition with his bowings. There's nothing really of Bach in Casals' performance, but like also Fournier and Toffoli. But Wenzinger was a philological, the first one making a philological research on the Bach. And we have to say thank you to this musician. We are come si dice, debitori.
Yes, I once listened to a kind of I think it was like a garage recording of Wenziger playing Bach. I think it was from 1929 or 1930. And I cannot find it anymore, but I heard it once on the radio in Israel. There was a guy that had an enormous collection of old 78 recordings, and he died 2 years ago, and I'm not sure what happened to the whole collection. I'll try to see if it can be saved. His name was Ram Ebron, and he had a program every Friday for a long time where he was introducing old recordings. And some of the recordings were very strange recordings. I mean, there were recordings that friends recorded. He had, Villa-Lobos was also, he started off as a cello player, you know that. And he had a recording of Villa-Lobos in Paris from 1932. Quite interesting. He was not a great player, Villa-Lobos. He was a very interesting composer. He was not a great cello player. Okay, let's get our hands around the various viola da gamba, viola d'amore, viola bastarda. What is the...
is a different instrument. Has nothing to do with the viola da gamba.
Now you're going to tell us about it. Now you tell us about it. Tell us about the difference between the different viola.
Viola d'amore is it belongs to the family of the viola da braccio. Is a viola, in fact, but is a viola with resonant strings, but is not a gamba from the gamba family. You know, may I be a little academic?
Yes, please.
Chronologic. In all the musical terminology, in music and in organology, comes from the normal life, daily names, for example, and from the, you know, we were talking about the spoken and the written language in Italy in ancient and in recent time. So the name in music comes from the spoken language, who was a popular language, is what today we know as dialect. That was a language. There is it's not really a rule, but in Italy happened that a name, a female name, when we do, you have to help me, Dan, because I don't know the terminology in English. Sai cos'è un diminutivo e accrescitivo? Quando dico piccolo, piccolone, piccolino. Piccolo non è il bel nome.
Yeah, we don't have it exactly in English, but it's between small, smaller, smallest. In Italian, in all the Latin languages, you can do it all in one word. It's diminishing or growing the term. Piccolo, piccolino, piccolissimo. Go ahead.
Yes. So, many names are in Italy female, but with the diminutivo e accrescitivo, they became masculine. But it is a popular. For example, barca, the big barca is not la barcona, ma è il barcone. Porta è il portone.
Barca is a boat. Porta is a door.
Or maglia, yes. This is a maglione, no? La maglione. And the same is for the diminutivo, ino. For example, I say, voglio mangiare, I want to eat, voglio mangiare una pasta asciutta, and we say, mi mangio un pastasciuttino. But it's very, very useful now. It's very good. What happened in the language in this time? Viola is a general name for a stringed instrument, common for the violas played plucked, so, and bowed. For example, Francesco da Milano was a lute player, print a very important book of lute tablature written per viola, tablatura per viola, but viola means lute. Viola is a generic name like barca, barchino, barcone, porta, porticino, portino, portone. Finestra, finestrino. We say finestra is the window, but the car has a little finestra, un finestrino. A shop has a big finestrone. So, a viola, a small viola, è un violino. But the original term was not violino, was il violin. Viola, the big viola, il violon, il violone. A viola, you have to know some Italian language. There is many terminology for dimension of objects. For example, porta, the big porta is portone, but big porta, portone, not so big, is portoncino. So we add portone and we add also cino, so it's big but not so big. Viola, violone, violoncino, violoncello. And so viola is a common name for all the bowed instruments. The difference between bowed instruments in the 16th century is that some instrument is played so, like the violin, and some instrument is played putting the instrument on the legs. And the difference of the instrument put on the legs is viola sulla gamba, della gamba, appoggiato alla gamba, viola da gamba. Very easy. Viola to be played on the leg, viola da gamba. And the other one is viola da braccio. In Monteverdi, for example, what sometimes musicians did not recognize is that in the lowest part of the score, where is written in the F clef for the violoncello, Monteverdi writes viola. And so we think, viola is the viola da gamba because it's not written violoncello. No, because for Monteverdi and for all the musicians in this time, this is a viola, una viola bassa, un basso di viola, ma è un basso di viola da braccio. Is a bass of the viola da braccio. Or sometimes you write viola da braccio. Viola d'amore is a viola. The dimension is in between the violino and the viola. Is only known as viola d'amore because gives beautiful and seducting resonance, because it has more strings, tuned more or less like the viola da gamba, because with the fourth of interval between the strings instead of fifth, we have more possibility to make chords and arpeggios and harmony, and resonance strings under the bridge, giving this special sound. But the viola d'amore belongs to the viola da braccio. Viola bastarda belongs to the viola da gamba. And what is viola bastarda? You want to know what is viola bastarda?
Yes, please.
Viola bastarda is we have some viola player in our meeting.
I don't think so. Vaslav. No, I think and Giovanna is a singer, and she was a flute player.
Bastarda actually is a viola da gamba, but is bastarda because the dimension is bastarda. It's in between the bass viol and the tenor viol, and the measures of the vibrating string between the bridge and the upper part of the viola is shorter because it has to be tuned by fifth and fourth. So the range of the tunings is much bigger. Is bigger as the viola, normal viola, and allow to the instrument to play from the very bass note of the chord to the very high. Can imitate the violone, but also to play in the range of the violin.
It always brings to mind when we talk about diminishing. Or first time I was in Italy, I was living in a little town outside of Milan called Saronno, and when I was telling people that I was going to Milan, they always said "prenda il trenino." So. So I was going to and looking for a small train, and I couldn't find a small train. It was a normal train. But so this is in Italy. You have a lot of those But let's get back to let's get back to the viola. In the 19th century, there was quite some people tried to add new string instruments. The most famous one only lived for 20 years, but at least Schubert wrote l'arpeggione. Nobody knows what it sounded like. I know that.
No, I know because when I was student in Basel, I I had my apartment with Christophe Coin because we had the same age. We are we were born in '58, and we were students with George Christophe, and he was playing the arpeggione.
Really?
And was an instrument, yeah, it was an instrument of Nicolas Sarnoncourt that gave to him. And so I could listen to the arpeggione. It's an horrible instrument. It's really not a beautiful instrument because it's a guitar. The tuning is like the guitar, but the string, instead to be right on the tastiera, is round to be played with the bow. But it's not strange that it was just 10 or 20 years of life. But the pity is that Franz Schubert wrote one of the most beautiful sonatas for the instrument. But I think the philological to play with the arpeggione is very interesting, but perhaps with the cello, I think is that it was in all the instrument, the history of music, there was experiments on instruments. The lirone was an experiment. The baritone was an experiment. The Tangentflügel was an experiment. Ophicleide. There is many instruments, but used by special composers. For example, Ophicleide is just used by Berlioz. Not arpeggione. Or you know, a glass harmonica. Glass harmonica is wonderful, but is an instrument, is an impossible instrument. But Mozart wrote for the glass harmonica wonderful piece, and so Schubert for arpeggione, but it was an experiment with no real success. The sound is really not beautiful. It's a mix between the cello and the guitar, and but it's interesting.
There's a famous story. I once heard an interview with Benjamin Britten. He was telling that Rostropovich came to visit him in the festival that he was holding, and Benjamin Britten asked him to record the arpeggione with him. And Britten tells the story that Rostropovich looked at the manuscript, at the notes, and he said, "There's no way I can play this. It's not for cello. It's very difficult." And I still find that I don't know if you know the recording they did, Britten and Rostropovich, of the L'Arpeggione. It's a very beautiful recording, very, very beautiful, because Britten had this fantastic attitude of the natural accompagnatore. Whoever he played with, he became a different player. When he played with Richter, he became a little bit of a Richter, like a counterbalance to Richter. When he plays with Rostropovich's cello becomes wider and bigger because of what Britten gives him. That he was quite an incredible musician, Benjamin Britten. And that's a very, very beautiful recording.
But arpeggione is really difficult on the cello because it's written with octaves. For example, tira tata tira tata tira tata tira tata tira pom. But with arpeggione, because of the tuning in four, it's just here the octave. You make tiram pam. But with the cello, you have to jump one octave many times on the first string. It's really, really very dangerous and very difficult because it's all on the first string and very high. But the first string of the arpeggione is 1/5 higher as the first string of the violoncello. This is the reason it's so difficult. So on the arpeggione, the highest position is 1/5 lower than what we are used on the violoncello.
Okay. Okay. So I think it's probably time to listen to another piece of the music that you prepared for us. And here we have Scarlatti. Tell us a little bit about what we're going to listen here. It's with Alvini.
Sì, Laura Alvini was, but I don't want to spend a word about my personal friendship with Laura. For me, Laura has been not only a close friend, but something that is very difficult to explain. Artistically, Laura is not so known as cembalo player and as musician, so like Leonard or Tom Cotman. Perhaps because, like me, we chose a more private music life. But she was an amazing virtuoso on the instrument. And for me and for the people who know Laura, she arrived to be a mix between the biggest musician I never met in life and one of the biggest intellectual and cultivated person. And in her playing, you can listen to something more as the wonderful technique and the good taste and the beautiful sounds on the cembalo. And on the cembalo, what was really astonishing in Laura was, I remember the first time I was in Venice because she was the director of the seminars in the Fondazione Cini and was a cembalo seminar. She didn't teach cembalo because she was the director and was another cembalo player. And we was just talking in the hall about Scarlatti, and the cembalo teacher was playing Scarlatti. And Laura wanted just to say something about the fingering and said, yes, but I normally I can play so. And Laura went to the cembalo, and usually the cembalo is a very mechanical instrument, but the cembalo had a different sound, and all the people was astonished. We was looking at each other because the cembalo could make crescendo, diminuendo colors like the cembalo cannot do it. And she said, but the cembalo is a dynamic instrument; it's not a mechanical instrument. But she was so. I think in this sonata you can find normally the recordings of Laura was like in old way, without cuts.
Won't go.
Because I was, yes, yes. She was playing one or two or three times, and then that stopped. So because for her and for me also now, it's important to have the mood and the direction of the piece. It's not beautiful to record, make a recording by sections, and it's really an amazing accident, a broken string, or but normally it's not beautiful. Listen to Laura, it's a beautiful, and the sonata is one. Presto, is presto.
So we're going to listen to the number 18 sonata in D minor by Scarlatti, played by Laura Alvini and recorded in 1991.
Just 20 years ago.
Yeah. Nobody heard me, I think. Okay, I was muted. I muted myself because in the beginning of the piece, it was the sound was very terrible because I did not mute myself. So let me
Okay.
repeat what I said.
Okay. No, but it was just before the beginning.
Yeah, but what we listened was my computer was playing into the mic, so we heard it twice.
Ah,
At least I did. At least I did. I don't
okay.
know. So
Mhm.
after that, I muted everybody and myself.
Ah,
I was going to say, in I listened to an interview in the late 1960s of Gustav Leonhardt, where he said somebody interviewed him in Canada, and they asked him, "Why don't you ever play the piano?" And he said, "Because the piano is not dynamic. The harpsichord, the tremolo, is dynamic." I must say that I find much more dynamism in the way that Laura Albini played. I'm really very excited. I never heard her play.
I
Uh,
know.
no, I never heard her play. I know the name, and I heard a lot of people talked about her, but I never heard her play. Uh, Fantastic piece. Really, it's
I
like
would like to send you some MP3 of Laura. If you know her, is a great musician.
it's outstanding. I mean, Scarlatti is another one of those. You can call Scarlatti the master technician of all time, but if you play the music of Scarlatti and not the notes of Scarlatti, all of a sudden you see a whole new panorama. It's a whole new something new is opening up, and this again was Scarlatti in his real home. It's getting into the persona of Scarlatti. It was really outstanding.
So,
Uh,
okay.
from what you from what you told me, uh, you said you are too lazy to really have a career. That's why. But I think,
We
you
are
know,
going to a very spicy argument.
but Glenn Gould said about himself that if he were not so lazy, he could go on playing in concerts. But being lazy and being very under the influence, he called himself, he did not want, as you know, he did not want to perform anymore, and he only recorded for the last 10 or 12 years of his life. When you were in Israel until about a week ago, you were very, very busy. You were driving around the country, giving two master classes in the morning, a concert in the afternoon, and another concert in the evening. Uh, what does it do to you?
But in this, I'm not lazy. I'm lazy. This is not the career. This is the the real and the beautiful part of the job of the musician, if we can say it's a job, it's not a job. But I am lazy I'm basically moving from home. That's not me, right?
Okay.
And no, I am lazy I always was lazy in building a career for two reasons. The first one is I am not talented. I know what we have today to do to build a career and the activities to have introductions and to know people and to invite. So is take more time as the music itself. And after that, you have to be talented to speak with person, to people, to make proposition of programs. And really, I'm not able. I like speak about music, but always when I was with a festival director, with an assessore, with somebody of the administration. And I know that I am speaking on music, and the person in front of me does not understand. I cannot follow speaking on music, and I am, how would you say, inhibitor. And I really cannot.
Inhibited.
Yes, and I know colleagues and friends of mine, very, very talented, and they're lucky. And the second reason is that music is a part of my life. Um, a part of my life means that the all my life is important like music. And I'm very happy. I have a personal life of happiness, and I want to make a balance between the work and my life. And B2B, I have seen what was a model of a career builder is Jordan. I was with him from since 76, 77, and I can uh, say he did a huge work for his career. He was sleeping 3 hours every night, 3 hours, and he was teaching the all days, making rehearsals, and in the night he was preparing fax and letters, programs, and projects in the early morning, and in the night he preferred to call to the USA, to Japan, where the time was good. In the early morning, it was up to speak with other people. It was really crazy, and he made with character and determination for all his life. I think I know personally people who made an investment in career so deeply, but I don't agree with such a private life that sometimes is not so happy. And I want to, my target is the target of our life is, I think, is to be happy, is the happiness. And music is a part of my happiness, so I'm very happy. And this is the reason I became lazy. I became also lazy because there is a third reason. The audience and the public and the people around me in Europe and in Italy is not the same as 20 years ago, and I don't like. I really don't like. It's different because you are in Israel. Israel is like an oasis in a desert, and when I
Not for
play
the Israeli.
not for the Israeli, but for me, yes, because when I perform in Israel, uh, you have the thermometer of the audience, and always there is people coming to listen and enjoy the music. And I have the right feeling that I playing music for the audience to appreciate, understand also what not only the music I'm performing, but what I am expressing through the music. And this is what I don't find anymore in Italy and in Europe. And I prefer to make recordings. I make my recordings. I have two this year, and one with the viol and one on the cembalo. And I prefer so. I am a lonely musician, getting old and lazy and alone.
You almost sound like a protagonist of a Thomas Mann novella, you know.
No, which one?
um, well, you're philosophically closer to Nietzsche than to Hegel. I mean, Hegel never slept, and Nietzsche was talking about the joy and what I found. Well, first of all, what I found very interesting in the way I saw one concert of yours in Tel Aviv. And what I found very, very beautiful is the way that you offered the other musicians that were on stage with you the possibility to be their best. And you did that only with a little look in your eyes. You would look at somebody and do something with your head, and your eyes were very, very directly aimed, I felt, deep, deep into the person, into the, I saw it with, with very strange and difficult instruments like the teorba that was there, which is another incredibly difficult instrument. I tried playing the teorba. I was a guitar player. And yes, yes. I was in Spain. A lutaio was building the guitar for me. And I was 15 years old. And there was this one guy who played the teorba, and he said, "Oh, try it. It's very easy." it's the most difficult instrument there is. Yeah, it's. I mean, the lauta is the lute.
It's a very dangerous instrument because if you make one little mistake on the teorba, it's so evident. You have to play all the notes right. It's evident.
So anyhow, but it's. Tell us a little bit about the difference between making music as a solo musician and making music as a conductor.
The audio is not. Wait, I just understood between solo musician and then.
Okay, I said, talk to us a little bit about the difference between making music as a soloist and making music as a conductor. Eccoci qua.
I don't know. Wait. There is every question has two different answers, because when I play alone, I am like at home, because when I play at home, I am like in public. Every musician has a narcissistic nature. I have mine. And always when I was and I practice at home, and what I teach to my students is also to think that in this moment, there is always somebody listening to us. And I play for the audience. I'm not able to play for myself. I look for a new music, and I dream to perform it for an audience or to record it. I don't like, if my future were to play for myself, I stop playing. But what is the opposite? It's when I'm playing in public, I am alone. And if I am alone, I can express myself totally. And what I in this way, I am not an unusual performer because I'm looking for the theater in the music, and in my life, theater is a constant presence. And uh, it's difficult to explain how you can be alone and to think on yourself and on your music, and because you are alone inside yourself, you can express so much to an audience and to feel a really hard contact. Because I am alone, but I have a contact with the audience. When I conduct, is strange because I am also alone, but I am closed in my work. And but if I am closed in my work, I really can have a relation with my colleagues and the musicians playing with me, even with an orchestra. There is something that changes in ourselves, I think. And it's not only me, that's not only me. But when you are in front of the orchestra and you begin to move a hand, the hand is not only the upbeat and the beat. In the fingers, you have the music. Is you express a sentiment, a color, something coming from inside. So I have to be concentrated on myself, but not egocentric. Is perhaps not soloist, but is solipsistic. Is what
Okay.
Laura, we make also the same joke because we was not solista, we was solipsista. But in this way, to conduct and to perform a solo there is no difference. And what I say to my friends and musicians sometimes, to the rehearsal with the words, really with the same phrase, or with the fact of playing, is follow me, come with me, play with me, and trust me. And this is, but don't make a confusion. It's not, don't misunderstand what I am telling. It's not like a dictator. You have to follow me and to do what I want. It's the opposite. It's a way to communicate and to speak with the music. Very special. Like in the theater, is a dialogue. It's like on stage, not a musical stage, but a theatrical stage. What do you think about it? You know theater, what is. You know what is to act, to be actor, dance. And
That's very interesting. What you say is very interesting because it also brings us back deep, deep into the world of the Baroque, and especially as we know Baroque today, it's very rare, it's almost non-existent to see a philharmonic orchestra without a director, without a conductor. They always have a conductor. And at the same time, it's rather rare to see a Baroque group of players with somebody who stands in the middle and conducts. You know that somebody is beyond the whole thing and gives it the color, gives it the interpretation, makes the confrontation come out at the right points. But everybody's playing. So this is also something. Well, if we talk about theater, in theater there are three elements. One element is the sound. The second element is the whatever movement you want to put behind the sound. And the third element is the contact. The contact, which is most important because it's the contact between one actor and the other. It's the contact between one actor and his text. And it's above all the contact between actor, text, and audience. Music can be played at home. Theater can be rehearsed at home, but cannot be acted at home because it doesn't mean anything. Theater without an audience means nothing.
But music, for me, music also, I cannot play at home. I practice at home, but
Okay.
it's the same. I think I'm not a musician who can play at home. I need an audience because for me, music needs audience. I don't play for myself because I don't need. If I want to play for myself, I don't need the instrument. I take the score and I read the score. I can read it and I do it. I don't need to play and like a book, but to act, I need an audience. I I think in this way is the same. What you're saying about the theater and the actors for me is exactly the same. And I can tell you something very more strange is that many models as conductor I have because I did conducting a course sometime one with Bernstein, and I did not meet personally Toscanini, but I love Toscanini, and I met person performing for him in the orchestra. And I remember the rehearsal of Celibidache and my courses, my musical formation. But when I am on stage, not on the podium, but on stage, and to conduct, I have to explain. I spend many words to the musician to explain not only what music for me means, but what I'm looking from the text and how they have to pronounce the words in the music. And my model, because I have every musician has a model, is no more a conductor, but is George Strehler, and because it's the same way to work. It's exactly the same way. Is conducting is more as a director, as a not as a conductor. For me, is Strehler, Visconti, but Strehler I know more directly because of the Piccolo, the work I made with the Piccolo Teatro, and I made the same work. It's evident also that this aptitude is not right for all the musical repertoire. I perform and I choose the repertoire that is close to my sensibility and to this way of tell and act and pronunciate a text and not a score, but a text. Even the instrumental music for me is a text.
Hmm. It's very interesting what you're saying because I have a special affinity with Sergiu Celibidache, for two reasons. A, because I find him to be one of the really uh, top conductors, musical conductors, and also because he played football with my father as a small child in
Yes.
Romania. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But I read in one place that he said, we musicians do not play notes, we tell a story. And our story is told by strings and wind and a lot of, but everything is a story. And when we stop telling a story, it's but notes and it's not interesting. And I saw him in Israel many, many years ago. I was a little child. He was in Israel in 1959, I think. Not a little child. I was 13 years old. Um, and he was, again, I never, uh, I did not learn under him. Uh, but he was very severe on stage. He was, it's as if every little finger that he moved meant something to somebody in the orchestra. He was very precise. He was very he's a great musician, and I really loved him very dearly. I would.
And he also um, I remember what was interesting with the rehearsal in for Celibidache in Milan. He spent a lot of words to make understand to the instrument, to the player, what the music means before playing. A lot of words to explain of. He was speaking about aesthetics and figures, images, and forms, and colors, and meanings. Every kind of language to explain the text, read the text. And I remember it was really brilliant.
Hmm. I would like now to, if it's okay with you, to listen to the Sibelius concerto, and here we meet another idol of mine, and I think of yours. Tell us a little bit about.
Yeah, because the choice are my reference point of my musical personal life and of my idol. Jascha Heifetz is, I think, one of the two best violin sound in the history of the violin. Was Jascha Heifetz and Leonid Kogan.
Okay.
And Heifetz is a virtuoso, but is an example of the good virtuosity, not to express his own bravura, but to express the music in a brilliant and communicative way. This is the final allegro of the Sibelius concerto. Wonderful, really wonderful.
Okay, so let's listen to Jascha Heifetz in the Sibelius Concerto in D minor, number 3. Here we go.
I,
Beauty.
the problem is for the conductor. He's a crazy horse. To follow him and to go to keep the orchestra and to follow him. I try to listen in the position of the conductor. It's very difficult. Really, very difficult. It's amazing, outstanding. The sound of Heifetz and it's not only because it's outstanding, the quality of the sound, the virtuosity and the precision, the intonation, the speedy note, is the taste. Is not just to show you are a good performer. Musical is it it takes the music speech, the text. It's wonderful, wonderful.
What I find,
I had to make a recording of a very difficult music for viol last year, and really the most difficult music ever written for the Giordano. And I wanted to make it, but I was listening to Jascha Heifetz and looking the recording for months and to learn. It was like to take lessons from him. It's really an example. It's not necessary to look at the other gamba player to have a suggestion. And Heifetz gave me really the sound in the violin.
what I find so outstanding in the great players like Jascha Heifetz is that there's always the continuity. He's not running after the music, nor is the music running after him. He's always at the same place where the music wants to be, and all of a sudden you find, he's here. He's here. There's no difference in the high notes or the low notes. It's all music. It all comes together. And I find similar, of course, in Kagan, but also in Nathan Milstein.
Yeah.
Nathan Milstein also had this, he had, in my book, he had a little bit less humor than Jascha Heifetz. Jascha Heifetz was full of, he was full of life. I don't know him as a person. I'm talking as a musician. And Nathan Milstein was a little bit of, cold, and but Nathan Milstein's Bach, I think, is second to none. I really like the way it's so strong, it's so contenuto, it's ristretto, it's like a very good short coffee, nothing goes away.
I don't know the recording of Milstein of Bach.
Oh, I must send it to you. I must send you especially the Bach. Milstein also played Sibelius, not as well as Heifetz, not as well as Heifetz here. There were, I don't know, I also like Kreisler, but I only, the recordings that we have of Kreisler, I have a very old recording of Kreisler with Rubinstein. But it's difficult to understand because, the quality is so,
yes.
The sound is there, with Kreisler.
Yes, it's really the real sound. It's like Ranzato in the 30s. You understand? He plays very well. It's not the real sound because the quality of the recording in the 30s and the beginning of the century was not so high. Because I know the sound of Ranzato, I know very well, so I can understand when I listen to Kreisler that it's not the real sound.
It cannot be. It cannot be. It's like tin. There's too much.
With the recording of singers also. When you
Yes.
listen to Caruso and also you understand that Moreschi is not the real voice.
Yeah.
And also technically the way to make recordings in this age, standing and moving sometimes. In the first 20 years. With the violin and for the singers, you had to move far away. More louder you play, you had to
Ah,
move
yeah.
far away from the pavilion, and it was really difficult for a singer because you have to move all the time, but also for a violin player because you have to walk in the room and playing difficult pieces. We have to understand the context.
Hmm. Okay, I see that we have here with us, and we've had her for about an hour, Giovanna Bragadin. Giovanna is from Venice, a very lovely
It's a
singer.
famous name, Magadin.
Giovanna, maybe you can share with us your voice and your. I know that you have a webcam because we did a little rehearsal today. I can see that you have a mic. Do you want to participate with us, Giovanna? Or do you have a problem with your mic or with your technicality? Okay. Okay, I think that we probably have a problem here with
Yeah.
Venice is probably under acqua alta and
No,
eccola
no.
qua. Eccola qua. Uh,
We
you are
don't,
mute.
ma non si sente. Non si sente.
Il tuo microfono è mutato. Aspetta, aspetta. Eccoci qua.
Vediamo.
Ah, sorry.
Adesso ti sentiamo. Ecco.
Ah, ecco, vedi. Penso che non ho problemi di acqua alta in questo periodo. Grazie maestro Roberto, è stato molto bello. E grazie a Dante che... No, veramente. Forse di nome, ecco, io conosco di nome sicuramente.
Well, we have to stick to English because otherwise we are losing.
Yes.
We have to stick to English because we have. He said that your name is very well known, Giovanna.
Historically.
Hai ragione, è un nome storico. Conosci Dani?
Certo.
Ragazzi.
Come on, tell us about it. Share it with us. You don't want to share it with us.
But you are Bragadin. Il tuo nome Bragadin è dei Bragadin.
Sì.
Ah.
In realtà io ho 3 cognomi, uso spesso Bragadin solamente per...
3 surnames, she says.
Uso Bragadin perché altrimenti non si ricordano di me, ma effettivamente arrivo da quel lato lì, da quella famiglia lì, di Bragadin.
Okay.
Bragadin is a historical name in Italy, and after this, if somebody wants to know more about it, I'm glad to let you in on it. We are getting very close to breakfast for some people here, so I would like to try and open up our next meeting with Roberto, because we only touched upon the top of the iceberg in this meeting. In the hours that we spent together in Israel, there were so many more aspects of your personality that came out through music and through your, above all, through your insights into music, which you shared with us very generously tonight. But I do know how much more there is, and I'd like to offer a little challenge here. One of the reasons that I started Eusofia as a salon littéraire is to allow the meeting of minds, per dare la possibilità di avere dei veri incontri oltre la parola, to have meetings that go beyond the word, beyond the immediate. You said that playing music for you is like being in the theater. I would like Eusofia to be the kind of a salon where there's no fourth wall, you know, the fourth wall of the theater that Pirandello took off. So this is the kind of salon that I would like Eusofia to be. And I would like to try and enable us in a future meeting to produce something between music, poetry, theater. I don't know how, when, or what we'll do, but this is something that I would like to really get to later. Obviously, technicality is a big point, and technically we still have a lot of things to improve here. But the more I hear you talk, the more I want to get involved in producing sounds with you, producing music with you. And so instead of closing this meeting, I would like to open now the next meeting with you and with everybody else. You allowed us today a point of view that was very, very yours, very much Roberto Gini, a point of view where, you know, a lot of musicians, famous musicians above all, musicians that have arrived, have not only, you mentioned earlier that each and every musician has a narcissism. Narcissism is okay. What a lot of musicians have is the jealousy. And you hear when they talk about another musician, there's always something jealous. There's always the yellow color of hidden poison. And when they give a compliment to another musician, it's always a compliment that calls you to find out that it's not a real compliment. And with you, when you talk about music, I feel just a curiosity. I do not feel the jealousy.
I am sometimes.
Okay.
I am. Not in the way that I am jealous of success of my colleagues. I'm not interested, and I think they have to do. And I have my small place, and I treat very well. I am sometimes jealous when, and this is a problem of the early music, because audience has to know more, something more as a well-known traditional classical repertoire that we know, for example, that the first movement of Mozart Sinfonia is an allegro and not an andante. And if somebody plays like an andante, people knows by tradition, because we know. On the early music on Monteverdi, no, because sometimes we listen to a dance very speedy, but Monteverdi writes Sesquia Altera Maggiore very slow, and the opposite, sometimes very slow, something written very speedy, but people does not know and believe in the performer. I'm jealous sometimes when critics of people estimate as very beautiful and give many compliments to somebody that lies with music. In this kind I'm jealous, because è un successo non meritato.
It's okay. You know,
we need ethic
Uh-huh.
of music. I don't like people who abuse the score and abuse the music to make a product, a mass media product that the people appreciate and say this is wonderful and give premi and prizes and best diapason d'or. And I know that is formally the lie. Some is music not written, for example. When I listen the wonderful coming from the manuscript in Salamanca, and I know there is no manuscript in Salamanca. Is a mix of ethnical and popular and music that every all the people likes because it's like a minestrone. You put inside all different tastes. So the people who likes pop music they said, but this is beautiful because it sounds like pop, and people who like ethnic music, it's beautiful because it sounds like ethnic. It sounds like all. This in this way, I am jealous of a not meritato successo.
You remind me.
Sono sincero, sono sincero. È inutile mentire e fare il falso modesto e dire no, io sono molto contento, perché non mi piace quando un'opera d'arte è falsa. E questo non mi piace.
Yeah, it's like, well, you're not talking about a mutual friend who rewrote Sardic music, and in order to fill up more and more records, of course. But you know, early music has something that later music does not have as much. We all know the famous saying of Stravinsky about Vivaldi, you know, who wrote 120 times the same concerto. But when
It's not
what's that?
it's not
But when he said it, the way that Vivaldi was played in the beginning of the 20th century, he was right, because the music itself was boring. The way it was played classically, Vivaldi did not have the verve, did not have the, the la cosa veneziana as we know it today. And we are very, very,
I have to say something.
please
Because
do.
my first Vivaldi
Uh-huh.
was performed not on ancient instrument, but was Musici e Solisti Veneti, the first
Yeah.
generation of Solisti Veneti. The first violin player of Musici was Felix Aio,
Mhm.
one of the most beautiful sounds of violin in.
One of the purest,
I,
one
yes,
of the purest sounds. Yeah.
Sincerely, I agree with you, and I agree also that sometimes was heavy and many notes, but now I miss something of them because the quality of I Musici, for example, was the honesty. They didn't manipulate the score to make something fake to have success. What is made now, but many performers. Vivaldi is one, Vivaldi and second Monteverdi is the best sacrificial victim of his personal success because you cannot no more listen to the Quattro Stagioni like they are written, and it's impossible. Everyone wants to do something different from the other, and so it's really
Faster,
great.
faster, faster.
Yes, and I miss sometimes the honesty and the ethics of I Musici o I Solisti Veneti. But we had to say thank you to them for discover Vivaldi was unknown before. And anyway, for me, I didn't know Vivaldi before. And even if I don't agree sometimes with the choice of Simona and Poliziano, I respect them, and I find more honest as somebody who wants to have the authority to be historically informed, and he is not, because anyway, we have also to say that in Italy, and not only in Italy, most of the Baroque orchestra use the same instrument as Felixaio and the Musici, just with the gut string, sometimes, not all the time. So it's easy today. It's easy today to buy a cheap Baroque bow, international Baroque bow, middle 18th century, and to play exactly like in the modern way. But you can say, it is historical informed. I have a Baroque bow, but you play exactly in the modern violin, in the same way, in the same way, piazza. And this I disagree. I really disagree. And for this reason, I find the I Musici Divinity more ethic and honest in performance, and I respect them. And I am not jealous.
Okay, next meeting we will talk about what Gideon Kremer did with Il Matrimonio with the Four Seasons of Piazzolla and the Four Seasons of Vivaldi.
Yes, but Gideon Kremer anyway is a good violin player.
No, he's a genius violin player, and I think
there is not so good violin player who wants to make a show on a basis of a not good technique, and they go to different ways to make their show, and not sincere, and they want to appear a virtuosi that they are not. The Kremer can allow himself, is allowed to make what he wants, because he's a huge artist and is an amazing violin player.
He's also a very clever, musically speaking, clever musicologist, because I heard him in London once with an orchestra of 27 players, the Camerata Baltica, play the Schubert string quintet. And I must say, I don't like orchestral, manipulation of a quintet. But I must say, what they did there was very, very interesting. I don't want to say that it's something, that I'm going to want to listen to it all the time. But it was...
Listen to me. You know that is a Schubert quintet, and you know that Camerata Baltica made the personal choice to perform the quintet with a chamber orchestra. In Monteverdi, you don't know. You cannot know because you have not the tradition to know the Schubert quintet. And sometimes the mistake is the same. To use different instruments as what I've written for Monteverdi and to make a new score, but you cannot understand, you don't know it, and you believe in the honesty of the performer. And Gideon Kremer was honest, is honest, because what he proposed to you is a version with chamber orchestra of the Schubert quintet, and he writes it. And in the early repertoire, in the early music, is not written, and you listen something that is not authentic. But is not authentic, but performed, but by historically performed players. And this is a great question now, because if we can use this horrible word, the early music, we assist to I find a degeneration of the taste, the general taste, and the fault. Some performance is guilty of this misunderstanding of the musical text. That has no sense. I have heard some teacher saying, but you perform Italian 17th century music is beautiful because there is no rule. You can do whatever you want. I've listened in Israel, but not only in Israel. And the attitude now is so we can improvisare, we can make whatever we want. But it's what
no, you touched.
The mass people. I give the name is un barocco di massa, a mass media barocco. Now, as un barocco di massa, because it's the product, what people like. And so we do a product because we are sure to sell it, because people like. It's like a television broadcast. You make a product because you know the public before. And
one of the very important things in art, and I don't care if it's music or painting or theater or whatever, one of the most important things in art, according to my way of seeing, is being honest and humble, umile. Because if you're not humble, you put yourself above what you sell, and you actually pre-masticate your artistic work, and you give to the public something that is pre-masticated. It's not for them to be created together with you, and that's very dangerous. When I gave the example of Gidon Kremer because Gidon Kremer is humble, and Gidon Kremer, although he's a genius, and he really is a genius, he always offers something because he says, I have a new idea. But he doesn't say, this is true or this is right. He opens up the possibility to enjoy the experience, and then without giving it a name.
Yes, and he's honest.
He's honest and he's humble. You know, I don't want to mention names here, but I remember I once went to see, to listen to a concert, not because I wanted to go, but there was one of my, no, I'm not going to mention a name, a Russian good-looking young pianist. He's not young anymore. Well, he's still young. He's in his early 30s. I can't stand his playing because he knows all the notes and he can play very fast all the notes, but he's boring. You know, he doesn't tell you anything. It's not, there's no story on the piano when he plays. And I was in Teatro Liceu in Barcelona. It's a beautiful theater. It's where Pau Casals gave his last performance before he left Barcelona because of Franco. And it was full with, I think, 2,000 people, and everybody was clapping. And I said, what is this? You know, it's like listening to something that is exactly what you think it's going to be. There's no surprise. He plays Liszt, and he plays everything that gives you the plethora to be incredibly flat, shallow, and not interesting. I'm not going to say that it's who it is. I can't mention names because we are in public here. But if a guy comes to your place to play music and his name starts by a K and it finishes with an N and sounds like kissing, don't go to listen to him because he just kills music. He should be arrested. Anyhow, I'm sorry about that. It came out. I didn't want to.
I agree, but you know, in Baroque music it's worse because you can recognize in Chopin or Shostakovich what happens, but in early music, no. Because public is innocent sometimes, is a victim of a fake. I'm sorry also because when you listen by Italian conductor, historically informed, a recording very famous of Orfeo and the Spirit of Inferno, say Al ciel superbo instead the Al ciel superno. What means Al ciel superbo? Al ciel superno. Or the worst was Messaggera, who said Ondella al suol fea scorno, instead al sol. Euridice was so beautiful that make ashamed the ground, not the sky. Al cielo. And things, or the worst was is a very famous Italian group. The worst I'm ashamed because they are Italian. Il lamento della ninfa. La ninfa begins with lamento, beautiful. You know Giovanna Bragadin, your singer, Il lamento della ninfa?
No, no, io sono contrario, non piace
Ah.
cantare la ninfa,
sì.
magari.
È molto bello perché la ninfa sings Amor dov'è la fe che il traditor giurò. She is very angry because he went with another woman, and the three singers, three tenors on the bass, make a complaint of her and say il ciel mirando, il pie fermò. Looking at the sky, she stopped to walk. It's clear what means the poetry. Is the translation good? And they sing il pie mirando, il ciel fermò. Looking the sea, she stopped the sky. But why? I think, why? But if you listen to it, you believe it because either you are not Italian, you don't understand, and every word is good, or you are Italian and you say, perhaps they are right because they are historically informed. Perhaps Monteverdi wrote this because this recording is authentic. You understand? This I am jealous of this kind of success.
Okay. We feel very comfortable with your kind of jealousy, Roberto, because it's a productive and proactive jealousy. And I would like to have so much more of it. So
I tell it because I was playing with Wieland many years ago, and now Wieland is exactly 20 years older than mine, and he told me, "I am so happy now I am 50 because I can tell whatever I want." I've no problem because I have not to demonstrate. I don't demonstrate. I don't need to demonstrate something. I'm not jealous of everything. I can tell what I think. And this I feel is a liberation. The age is a liberation. I'm not. I have nothing to defend. I don't need to demonstrate something, but I can say, I can tell what I think. And if today I wrote a mail to the conservatory in Parma because it's the same attitude. I received a communication of a seminar, a conference made by a famous conductor and a famous musicologist, and the title is Beethoven 2000, Beethoven 2000, a restoration of the Ninth Symphony. And I look, oh my God, it's fantastic. but I want, if you give me your mail, Giovanna Bravo, I sent you the communication of the conservatory because he says Beethoven and many composers, they did have the technical possibility to express the comporre in libertà, to express and to compose in freedom, because there was no technology. For example, Beethoven wrote phrases one octave lower or some note missing with other instrument because the instrument in that time did not allow. What we do now is completare tutte le 9 sinfonie, like if it were infinite. And but I wrote to the conservatory and I said, it is a joke. It's a joke. It's not true. And but it's true. It's true. Beethoven 2000. It's really crazy, but so light. If Beethoven, if if Beethoven knew the technology, he wrote something different. Now we have the technology, and so we give to Beethoven the possibility to write something different. So we write it, a new version. This is, and I think audience will appreciate. And I said, yes, it's okay. I find ridiculous, not dangerous, but ridiculous. But it's really a tendency, a trend of our time. This is the reason I stay at home most of the time.
You know, there was a very important philosopher, thinker, Adorno, who had an Italian mother and a German father. He was half Jewish, half not. And he said something very important, and he was talking in the beginning of the 20th century, that more and more that we see the development of technique in all fields, we have less and less the need to be proactive. We do not read proactively, we do not listen to music proactively. We allow our lazy minds to just swallow what other did masticate for us. Ingoiare quelli che gli altri hanno masticato per noi. And this is said in 1927, and I think today it's even much... It's very true. I mean, it's the more you have, television tells you a thing that it doesn't open it up to you. You take it and you eat it. That's it. Fantastic. So we're going to have. I always wanted to think what Bach would have done if he would have known the electric guitar. Would it be interesting to him? But we forget that Bach did have if not the pianoforte as we know it today, but he had the fortepiano. He didn't like it. He did not want to write for it because he didn't understand it enough. I don't know, when Friedrich asked him to come over and try all the 15 fortepiano that he had, I don't know, maybe we can reinvent Bach and reinvent everything, but there's nothing more exciting than researching and finding a maybe truth, but never being sure that what we have found is the truth. And this is that's the big difference between the real research, the honesty of the researcher, and we have it in everything. We have it in archaeology, the shallow, not very profound researchers that know all the truth without having any kind of proof for the truth. And if they don't have the proof, they reinvent the proof. So, okay, well, there's room for everybody. We are close to 8 billion people on this earth. There's room to everybody, and there's room for Roberto Gini that brings us back to sincerity and to the candid joy of truthful approach to music. I would like to thank you very much, Rupert. Come in.
In the early music, we can try what is philology, what is authentic, impossible. My Monteverdi is not the Monteverdi performed by Monteverdi and the instruments maybe was different, the sound was different, but what we can do is to try to understand the language and the aesthetic and with the aesthetic, the expression of the music. So is Bach. And I think I'm not the only one, that is sure, but I follow the, the performers who are looking for something that we cannot say authentic, but is an effort to go close to these instruments, to those instruments, because was the expression of the aesthetic and the poetry of a composer. It's like Leonhard, Harnoncourt, Bruggen. They are really, it, they are the still now are the only making a honest research on philology, on organology, and the instrument of concentus musicus as really historical, I think. Is not historical a new group of Baroque instruments that are not Baroque. And what we can do through the authentic instrument is to try to understand. The first step is to understand, to try to understand what Bach or Monteverdi had in the mind, what they want to express, and to be submitted to the score. We have to play what is written. After we can try to understand if there is place for our ambitions, our personal taste. Sometimes no, sometimes yes. When it's yes, now for my experience is a small part of the score, a very special places where Monteverdi let me free to make an ornamentation. But I have to learn what for an ornamentation, where to find the models to copy the ornamentation, and not to make before the first step and ornamentation or improvisation or manipulation of the score because of our personal taste, because we lose the work of Monteverdi and Bach. And the example I gave you is the Bach performance by Concentus. I think Concentus Musicus is a very old ensemble because the first recording is 1959, but is today is still a good performance, a good performance of Bach. Very good.
One of the great.
There is only the rhythm well played with stage with Baroque in a Baroque way, is with an articulation and pronunciation different as what we do with the modern instrument, with instruments that maybe are really, I'm sure, more close to Bach as the modern, with strings that are for sure more close to Bach, perhaps not the same, but more close. This is the way, I think.
Well, great musicians like Harnoncourt are never satisfied with what they do. Harnoncourt does not go and record all of Bach just to record all of Bach. He records the Bach that talks to him, that he feels, he understands. He can authenticate himself through the understanding and the insight of the Bach. But he then will do it 10 years or 15 years later, he will do it differently. Because there is more insight. And now, whether the different is closer to Bach or closer to his understanding of Bach, I think this is what Bach would have gladly accepted, because Bach wrote his music and he knew that he was not going to play it for everybody. He played it once and the music was on paper. And then we can only, as a later musician or audience, we can only wish to feel the authentication of the music again and again in a new way. And Harnoncourt is one of those examples, I think, more than almost everybody else, as far as Bach is concerned, that always gives you something new when he plays Bach. The last time he recorded Bach was in 2006, if I'm not mistaken. And it's still different. I would like at this point to prepare my oven to bake the bread for tomorrow and the croissant, così possiamo la mattina fare colazione con...
Vengo anch'io.
Certo.
Ma sai una cosa, adesso lo dico in italiano, una cosa
sì,
che...
ma abbiamo la Nira che dietro di me, comunque la Nira parla italiano meglio di me, quindi...
What was the first lesson I had with Harnoncourt in Salzburg, I was surprised because he never used the verb spielen.
Ah, no?
Suonare. Never. He said sagen. And I did chamber music also with him, and she said, yeah, weil wenn die Gambe sagt, die Flöte antwortet, he was always speaking in sagen, to say, to tell, and never to play. The first lesson was the lesson with Harnoncourt. He was crazy. I laugh on Harnoncourt. As a huge personality.
Yeah, and a fantastic interpreter of early Bach, and he's the one that keeps Bach alive. Well, there are so many people that did Bach better or worse, or but Harnoncourt always has, in my book, the honesty of saying, listen, I tried to say something. I think that now this is my truth. If it'll be my truth tomorrow or not, I don't know. And this is Harnoncourt. Let us finish today, if with your permission, with listening to a little piece of, let's see if we have it. I think we do have here a little piece of Bach by Harnoncourt. We have I think we'll be, yes. We have somebody here that is not listening. Somebody wrote me something. Vaslava and Jana left us. Okay, so before we start listening, I would like to thank everybody for being here with us tonight, and I prepare you all for hopefully having Maestro Gini with us again and again. And we're going to listen. We're going to listen to Bach, and with this, we'll say good night from Sofia, where minds meet online with Bach.